and a business process monitor are all pieces towards making that leap to service-oriented. And once I'm service-oriented, if I want to, now I can go the full route where my entire infrastructure becomes adaptively sourced, right? Where as not just business processes shrink and grow, but as the company changes direction and moves in a new strategic direction, I've got all the pieces, not just in technology, but also in processes and in terms of governance, so that IT can very quickly adapt and move and support that new direction. And here we're talking about things like Operations Center and Business Availability Center and Workload Manager and Load Runner and Site Scope. And I encourage everyone, if you're an end user customer, ask your HP sales rep. I want to see the Adaptive Infrastructure Solution Showcase. If you're an HP sales rep or if you're out in the field and you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, go to the Solution Demo Portal and go check out the Adaptive Infrastructure Solution Showcase, because we show how all of this can be done in an integrated by design fashion. It's running on real live hardware, and it shows how as my business needs change, as I have more users all of a sudden showing up, because I ran an ad, that we can flex that whole environment to meet those demands. This is stuff that exists today. I'm not showing some sort of future. These are slides that you can just get from HP. This is technology you can buy today from HP. So, a lot of questions are around, how did HP make that huge transition? And normally I don't like to look to HP as our own case study, but I think this one is so compelling, it's worth having a look at. So if you've read that InfoWeek article on Randy Mott, or if you've seen any of the press recently on what we've done, it is really a tremendous turnaround. And I think the number that most people really grab onto is this second to last one down here. The cost of IT went from 4+% of HP revenue, which was by no means a good benchmark, down to under 2% of HP revenue in the last 3 years. Now, granted, we are a $120 billion company, and that's a big number. But this is that's why we used a percentage of revenue. It's something that scales. So if you are a $100 million company, or a $1 billion, or a $5 billion company, or even a $500 million company, or wherever you lie in that continuum, it scales. And we have the ability to right-size that for you. How did we do it? Well, some of it certainly was technology and making use of this adaptive infrastructure. And it allowed us to fuel things like getting from 85 data centers down to 6. And because we were doing that, we were able to go build out these next generation data centers as greenfield opportunities. So in other words, we invested significant amounts of money to make this happen. But that's because we get an annuitized savings of over $1 billion a year to HP's bottom line. And that's a tremendous savings when you look at it. And it was because we did things like application consolidation. It isn't just about getting my hardware footprint down to fewer servers, but the number of applications I run. We went from 6,000 down to 1,500. How we managed projects, so our governance and our processes changed significantly. And instead of having 1,250 IT projects, that is, that IT determined what the priorities was, it became 500 projects that the business did. And Randy Mott said one of the key learnings there was, instead of having 10 people working on one project, or 1,250 individual projects, I wanted teams of 30 and 40 to make the time at which it took to close that project much, much faster. Some other, looking under the hood at some of these savings. From a green perspective, our energy savings was 60%, enough to power the city of Palo Alto. So in other words, the energy we saved in our data center operations would power the city of Palo Alto. I love that. That's visceral. Palo Alto's a big city, fairly big city. Our server count, 40% reduction. Our network savings, not only did we get 3 times the bandwidth, but we're paying half the cost for it. I actually heard Mark Hurd speaking at, it was at TIBCO's users conference about a year and a half ago, and he says, I knew we were in trouble when I first got on board because I got phone calls from every one of the major telephone vendors, AT&T and all the other companies, thanking me for being their best customer. Right? He says, and it's like going out to the back of the house with the meter on the power, and every time we were running a data query, I could just see that thing spinning faster and faster. Honey, we got to do something about this. And then, so the annual savings to HP, like I said, is $1 billion. Another big thing was our head count. Right? We were able to redeploy people and to deploy more salespeople and to deploy more value generation people within IT because we were able to cut down on the amount of headcount we had. So huge messages, huge savings we achieved through implementing in a step-by-step approach the adaptive infrastructure. So there's a maturity model available on that. There's all kinds of information. If you have any questions regarding adaptive infrastructure or the adaptive infrastructure maturity model, please don't hesitate to give me a call. I can be reached at paul.mantey, M-A-N-T-E-Y, @hp.com. Thank you very much for your time.